Did his work. Lunchtime, somebody brought him lunch. His wife cooked at home probably. Came back in the evening, had his wash or bath, sat down, looked at the stars, and went to sleep, hoping for a new day. But that life is not my life. Even if I go and sit in front of at home, there is this TV blaring out, and on this TV there are many people showing their fish and saying this and that, and I have to listen to all this rubbish that is going on, and that is also more stressful for me, and I am getting more upset listening to these things when I should be relaxing. So is this stress a good thing? Is this something that is good? Because we cannot avoid stress, and we are all having stress in whatever form it comes. What do we think? Is stress a good thing or a bad thing? So people have looked at this, and this is what they call the Yerkes-Dodson curve. What do we see? Now, if you look at performance, it's something that we always we want to optimize our performance. We want to do better. We want to do well. So this is the y-axis in which we chart the performance, and this is say stress or anxiety level. So if you look just from A to B, this level, when stress goes up, performance also increases. So stress is a good thing because it improves performance. Now if I were to say, please go out of this room as quickly as possible, it will take you a while to clear this room. If I say, look, there's an elephant, run, then many of you will leave your shoes behind, whatever your bags, and start running. So you need a little bit of stress sometimes to get us going. And this is a problem we also have in our work sector. So the private sector is stress driven because they are performance driven. You are given a lot of stress, you have to be on time. The government sector, you can go casually, nobody marks you on this thing. If somebody pulls you up, you can go on strike. So if there's anyone from the government sector, I work for the government sector. Well, so maybe we are not under pressure to meet targets. Doesn't matter whether I do it or not. I can come to the work and then only I start eating and drinking and all that. Half an hour, and then I do 2 hours of work, have some tea. So then obviously the performance is going to go down. Only if you are given some stress, somebody is pushing you, getting you to meet targets, looking behind your back, that's when we are going to perform. So if you want to improve performance, you have to give some stress, and you also need some stress. We need all sportsmen, everybody knows that, you are playing in a small ground. But if there are people watching, if there is a lot of incentives, there is bonuses, then we are going to act. So A to B, stress is a good thing. It increases performance. The problem is thereafter. After a certain level, it evens off. Now, however much you increase the pressure, the person cannot go beyond that. That is the person's maximum performance. So we need to be able to get people to be stressed or anxious about what they are doing, be pushed, but at the same time not pushed too much, because from C to D, stress is too much. You can go on for a while, after a certain level, then your performance starts plumping. You are going to go down, down, and even before your normal level. So what happens? Look, there's an elephant, run, I can't, I am falling down. I am collapsing. Somebody else is now carrying me and running. So that's the bad situation. If stress is too much, you lose control, you faint. Even the normal thing of walking out, you cannot do because of the stress. So this is a problem that a lot of people are facing. How much do I stress myself? Where do I draw the limit? How much can I do? How much can I be pushed? And where is the breaking point? When I push myself too much and then I keep coming down. So that's the question we have to answer. Now, when stress increases, we have mental symptoms, psychological symptoms which come up. So always there's a little bit of fear or trepidation. When we wake up in the morning and have to go to work, you have a bad feeling. Oh, what's going to happen today in office? What are the challenges I'll have to meet? When you go to a meeting, you feel some fear. At work, you're irritable. When people come and speak to you, you lose it. You get angry easily. You can't bear noise. And you're also restless all the time. Sometimes sit quietly is difficult. Even at home, you're like that. You're restless and you find your concentration going down and worrying thoughts keep coming. So even normal things which you used to face before now become challenges. You start worrying about various things, making mountains out of molehills. And that's something that takes a hold of us. So it's a thin line. When we are stressed too much, we get into this psychological situation. Now our minds are very linked to our bodies. So it doesn't stop with mental symptoms. We have other things. It affects our sleep. It's the commonest thing. You cannot fall asleep. Insomnia. And even when you sleep, you sometimes wake up in the night, suddenly sweating, your heart beating fast. Sometimes you see in your dreams things are happening the wrong way, you have been accused and you have been put into a wrong situation. All negative things happen even in your dreams. And it's very distressing when you wake up in the morning, you feel that you are not refreshed, you are not rested. That is the problem. Now, our brain has 3 nervous systems, or 3 components in this whole nervous system. Taking information to the brain, that is what is called the sensory system. We have the motor system which controls my speech, my talking, my hand movements, all that. So that is what my brain directs the body to do. Sensory system brings in all the senses, my touch, what I hear, what I see, what I feel and so on. So all these are taken into the brain. And we have a third system, which is what we call the autonomic system or the internal regulation system, which regulates our body. So it regulates, we don't have to think of breathing. My breathing is regulated normally. When we are seated, it's quiet. When you are running, it increases. I don't have to think to breathe. Similarly, my heart rate is going on, but it reacts to things that are happening in the environment, but without me having to think. It is what we call the autonomic system. Similar to an automatic system, but it increases, decreases depending on the situation the person is on, depending on what we see. If I see Alia, as I said, and I have to run, it immediately gives me, right, and pumps blood and gets me to run out because I need that energy, makes me to breathe fast immediately. So this system gets activated when you are continuously under stress. So what is there usually in a fight or flight situation becomes a constant situation for some of us. When we continuously go into stress, we are always in this restless mode because you feel it's not just your mental symptoms, but your heart is beating fast. Like you can feel it, and that's what we call palpitations. You feel your mouth is going dry very often, right? People come saying they have difficulty in swallowing. You have to frequently go to the washroom. People have loose motions. Particularly in the mornings when they have to work, they have to go to the washroom many times before they can get to work. Because there's something inside happening. They can't, on normal days, Saturday, Sunday, they are okay. But the day they have to go to work or go to an important meeting, that's the day you have to go to the washroom frequently. Right? So you may have loose motion. Because what happens is the body in a flight or fight situation directs the blood away from the gut. Because you can't eat a biryani and go for a fight. You can't go for a raga match after having a full stomach. So it has to give the blood supply to the muscles. So it's going to redirect the blood from the gut and it wants to evacuate all that is unnecessary. So that's why you have to go to the toilet, you have to empty your bladder, right? And you have all these feelings of wanting to go to the washroom because the body is trying to clear you and make you light to run. But at the same time, it's giving all the blood to the muscles. So your muscles become very tense. It increases your breathing. So you're like panting or you're breathing even in normal. And your chest is like you can feel your heart going fast. Normally you don't feel your heart rate, and that's when we call it palpitations, when you can realize your heart going fast. So you have all the systems get changed. Your mouth becomes dry because blood is directed to your other system. So dryness. And you feel a discomfort in your stomach. So you have frequency of fluctuation, and obviously you have even sexual difficulties when you are under stress, and also people may have menstrual changes and things like that. And in the nervous system, you have tremors, you find your shaking, you have certain noises in the ear, feel dizzy, headache, and get headaches and so on. And often people, particularly in their middle age, lot of corporate sector people end up in hospital getting a lot of investigations done because they end up with sudden chest discomfort and all these things, and your fear of heart attack and all these things come on. And I think hospitals are nowadays very full. Always, sometimes very difficult to even get a bed because lots of people are getting admitted for stress related. Right? You have to do everything, and sometimes when you do all the tests, you find some little abnormality, and then you have to go behind it. And these are challenges that doctors are also having sometimes, trying to differentiate what is real and what is stress related. And stress does cause eventually higher risk of heart attack, higher risk of other physical problems, even things like stroke. Right. And sometimes the sudden thing that brings sometimes people into hospital is what we call a panic attack. Suddenly you are waiting for a meeting, or there is some big situation, you are being called for an inquiry, and today we find people coming up with sudden palpitations, unable to breathe, chest tightness, sweating, trembling, and end up in hospitals. They faint and they are rushed to the hospital. And often you get these as the reason for the sudden admission. So what are the factors that cause this? Or what are the factors that cause stress? So stress doesn't come on in isolation. It is a thing that gradually builds up, and we need to understand ourselves as well so that we manage our stress or anxiety and realize what we can do and what we can't. So some of us have genetic predisposing factors. Perhaps my family, also my parent perhaps was always anxious. Maybe the person used to worry a lot. So maybe I also have some of those traits sometimes. So I may also be a bit of an anxious person. And childhood upbringing, perhaps even too much of a sheltered upbringing, where children are not exposed to stress, protecting them all the time, and not getting them to face problems can be a challenge in later life when you have to face up to real life situations. And sometimes people's personality, some people are more stress prone than others, right? And then we come to certain events that bring it on. You have a death in the family, you have somebody falling ill, you have an employment issue, you have something coming up, and that brings it on. And then how does stress continue? It continues via ways of thinking and what we deep down believe, and what values we place on what we are doing. Now I see, interestingly, when I work in the university, students coming after exam results. Some people are going by smiling, and I say, "Hi, did you get through? Congratulations, you seem to be happy." Some guys say, "Sir, I failed the exam, but I didn't expect to pass in a single subject. I passed 2, sir, only 3 I have failed." And he's quite happy. Sometimes you see people crying, feeling upset, and I go and say, "Did you fail your exam?" He said, No, sir. I passed. But sir, I was expecting a high class, first class. I only got a second number, sir. And I'm upset. So it's the way you think about it and how we value what we are doing. So even our ways of thinking make us more stressful, right? My children have to do, all the other children are doing so well, they are doing this and that. My child also has to get 9 years. And these are some of the things that drives us. You all, on tuition, I'm doing this, that, everything. So my child also has to keep up with everything. So when the child gets low marks, I get upset. So these are things that bother us. So from a psychiatrist or a psychologist point of view, we look at people using this model, which we call the cognitive behavior therapy model. How all of us are driven when it comes to how we function, right? So if I think, I will fail, I'm going to fail in my job, in my class, I'm useless, then what happens? When I go to a meeting also, I don't try to speak up, I try to avoid, right? And when I try to more I avoid and more I think I am going to be a failure, I feel more anxious and tense. You feel more panicky. And that leads to sweating, heart rate going up and all these things. So each one feeds into the other. Right? Now, you have heard a lot about positive thinking. Carnegie and other people would have said, think positively and you can do anything. So again, this model works. Say if I say, no, I am king, I can do anything, right? Then you are going to be very confident. You are going to go forward. You are going to feel better. You are going to be happy. And your physical response is good. So, this model will work for positive thinking. But we are a bit cautious about positive thinking. We are not always promoting positive thinking. Because you have to be realistic in this thinking as well. I can't just think, just because I believe I am going to get 9 years, but I cannot think that he's just going to get it. There's a lot of hard work. There are so many factors that eventually determine whether you go into university or whether you get into certain positions. Just because I'm thinking positive only will not take me forward. It's good to think a bit positively. Right? Obviously, 42 people are contesting the presidency. I'm sure all of them are thinking positively. I am going to be the president of this country. But only one person is eventually going to, which the others are going to be. That's the reality. It's good to be positive at this point. But there is also a reality that we have to face up to. If all 42 people are really convinced that they are going to win, I don't think even you will be convinced that apart from maybe 2 or maximum 3 people, chances are very slim. This is my reading. I don't know about you. But I am sure the others also in some ways feel that what if I am this third person or I am this lucky person who eventually comes first. So good to think positively, but you have to be realistic also, because at the end of the election, if you think you are going to be king, you may be sadly left in the lurch. And then you are going to end up with all these things because the reality will hit you. So it's sometimes better to be realistic, but a little positive. You need to, if you are negative, it's going to be difficult. You need to be positive, but you have to be realistic in this game as well. Know your strengths, your abilities, where you can pitch, understand yourself, and try to work it out. So, going back to the earlier model, if I were to take you there, so you can change any of these, and you can change the other one. So if you think positively, you may change your behavior, and you will feel a little better. Now, physical response is a dangerous thing. Some people, what they do is they take medicines, sleeping tablets and so on, that calms you down a little bit. So they take one day and they feel better because then their thoughts come better, their feelings are better because sleeping tablets calm you down, they put you to sleep. And that's again a dangerous thing. People come and say, sir, I am not sleeping, or doctor, I am not sleeping. And when I say, okay, you really have to go on to a sleeping tablet, they say, I am already on sleeping tablet. Not one, but I am taking 5 a night and still I can't sleep. Very common problem among some high officials today, right? Professionals dependent on sleeping tablets because when they are under stress, it helps. It calms you down here, so you feel a little better. All these things are better, you feel a little better, your behavior is more positive. So I need to take some tablet before I go into the board meeting every week. Please give me something. I am now taking 2 tablets, not helping. Senior police officers, right, who are now dependent on these things because they have got used to these factors. So you can tinker with any of these. Feelings are difficult to tinker with. They depend on the other things. But you can make yourself feel better by trying to work out these things. So that's how behavior therapy is trying to improve the behavior. So I'm not encouraging you to go to the numerous spas that are coming up all over. I see that it's a grooming business now. And I see people getting into lots of trouble by going to these places. But I think we need some form of relaxation. We need to find this balance. We are running this rat race, but we need to live life also. Sit back, relax, be pampered, be looked after. We need to look after ourselves. And we need to learn ways to relax also. So from a scientific point of view, we know relaxation methods are there, but for different people, relaxation is different. So you don't have to go to a spa to get that relaxation. Some people read a nice book and they feel relaxed. Some people go for a walk, a jog, go and play a good game of badminton, right? Spend time with family, with children. Those are also forms of relaxation. Those of us who are religious, prayer, meditation, these are things that people have used for centuries to relax and to get back. Yeah. So we need to find time for these things, however busy we are. We need to have time for regular exercise, regular time of doing something that relaxes us. And we need to build that into our work-life balance. Lots of people, middle-aged, young people, when I ask them, they say, so no time. And it's sad sometimes, really a struggle. You have to wake up at 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, cook, get your children ready, drop them in school, spend 2 hours in the traffic, 3 hours in the traffic, get to work, then you're rushing, 7 o'clock you get on 6 in the evening, get on the road, by the time you reach home it's 9 p.m. You have to get your clothes ready for the following day, find dinner, do the homework with the children. So much to do. How can I find time? This is what we need to work on. Maybe in the time I am traveling, I know quite a few of my friends now who use the time they are traveling to relax. Even when you are driving. People even practice things like mindfulness, being quiet. Some people use prayer, some people meditate. Try to find that time thinking of something nice when they are maybe spending time in the travel. So, we all have to find this balance in our lives if we are going to reduce our stress. The more stressed we are, the more pushed we should be to do something. Because what do? We get into this and we try to do more and more and more and more and try to get through the work. And at some point, work never ends. Even if you work 24 hours and extend the 24 hours to 48 hours, still work will always be there. And that is the reality today in most of our lives. We have to prioritize, like we do at work, that our lives are important too. Even before work, our health, our well-being comes first. And number 2, my family. And number 3 is the work. Without these two, work becomes meaningless. So how do you break out of this cycle and try to relax? As I said, you need to learn to distract yourself even when you are going or traveling. Otherwise, your mind is always overworked. Every time it's thinking of the problems. How do I sort that out? When you are going home, when you are with your children too, you are not with your children. You are with them physically, but your mind is working. Oh, this office problem, what do I do tomorrow? I have to do this, I have to do that. My loan, I have to sort out. Always your mind is working on your problems. So this affects your family because you are never with them emotionally. You are with them physically, but you are unable to enjoy the time with the people nearest and closest to you. You need to learn to enjoy your work. And that, if it is a real vocation, where it becomes meaningful, then it is joy. So we need to somehow find reasons to enjoy and like our work. We need to find time to relax. And if you are not doing it, if you are feeling stressed, and if it's really becoming a problem, we cannot keep it within ourselves. We have to talk to somebody about it. And this is another problem. In Sri Lanka, we used to talk about suicides. This country. What do you know about suicides in Sri Lanka? Anybody? I'll be talking a lot, so I'll give you the chance. What do you know about suicide in Sri Lanka? One of the highest in the world, yes. Do we know how many people die of suicide? So, we were the highest in the world in the 1990s. We have slightly come down now. The reasons are many. So, the rate is around the 1990s, it was 40 people per 100,000 per year. Because we went up to around 47 per 100,000 per year. Now we are down to around 15 to 20, nearly half that. But still, if you take 40 per 100,000 per year, how many people do we have in Sri Lanka? Do we know how many people we have? What's the population? 20 million, say around 21 million. So 20 million. So 40 per 100,000. So for 20 million, how many people would be there? So for 1 million, there will be 400 people. So for 10 million, 4,000. 20 million, 8,000 people a year. Now how many days do we have in a year? 365. So you divide 4,000 by 365, how much do we get? Sorry, 8,000. 8,000 by 465, we get around at least 20. If we bring it down to even less, say it's come down, still at least 15 people, 12 to 15 people die a day, which means 12 to 4, everybody is asleep, every waking hour, one person perhaps kills themselves. And while I speak now, there will be somebody killing themselves in this country. That's a very sad fact. So every day, papers only highlight one or two things and we think that that is a big thing. But daily at least 10 people die of suicide in this country. And what sort of people are they? The people who commit suicide, are they males or females? Mostly males. 2/3 of people who commit suicide are males. I mean, I think it's the females who are under most stress in this country. What do really the males do in this country that makes them so stressed? Because if you take the economy, all the work is being done by the females, isn't it? The topmost 3 earners for this country, foreign remittances, females in the Middle East. Yaman, females, maybe now third, the T and stuff like that have come down, but again, females. So, I don't know what males really do in this country. I think I'm the only person who's working. So, yeah, but still they kill themselves. And what is the other reason? If you look at the males, there's another subcategory. They are usually young males. And there's also usually alcohol and things complicating the whole issue. So what do? They don't talk to people. They take alcohol. Again, alcohol may be a relaxant in the short term. But eventually it's a depressant. It represses your brain. It makes you go down. Initially, they drown their sorrows or whatever in the alcohol. You just forget the reality. You forget your problems by getting into it. But it doesn't sort out your stress. It's a very vicious cycle. Because you are under intoxication, you beat up your wife. And two things. You don't have to drink to beat up your wife, no people who do it otherwise, but still, these are reasons that complicate the problem more. And eventually ends up in suicide. So, males feel that they are strong, and when they are strong, that nothing will get to them, and they feel embarrassed to talk about their problems, talk about the stress they have, and then it ends up in suicide. And day to day, as I said, we need to understand our strengths, our weaknesses, what we can do and what we can't do. And I always say, don't bite more than you can. Some people want to have everything in them. They want to be at the top in their career, they want to have their children to do the best, right? Perform so well, they want to have everything. Is it really possible? You have to cut corners somewhere. You may have to let go your career to spend time with your children. You may have to let go of certain benefits. Work for a lower pay because you want more quality time for yourself and for those around you. So these are hard decisions. But people in today's world think they can do everything. Be rich, be famous, and still have everything that goes along with that. Be the best in everything that they do. Can be difficult. And we have different abilities. We look at other people and say, oh, he can do it, I can do it. Well, it's good to be positive, but you also have to be realistic. Is that what I want in my life? What do I want? And I need to make those choices. To me, this is happiness. Because otherwise we are just in this rat race. Running because everybody is running. Does that bigger car really make me happy? I was reading this book on economics recently, and it's just a simple thing. A person who walks always dreams of having something that came up during the election thing also. He's dreaming of having a bicycle. The person who has a bicycle is dreaming of having a three-wheeler, maybe, or a motorbike. Right? When you have a motorbike or a three-wheeler, then you are dreaming of having an Alto. After that, you want to go to a Japanese car. Those who have Japanese cars are dreaming of having a German car. Right? Then once you have a German car, then what are you dreaming of? Maybe having a little plane or something, or a yacht, I don't know. So this thing never ends. We have to decide what we want. There's nothing wrong in having these things. I'm not saying anything about that. It's fine. But we have to bite enough. I have juniors who come and tell me, coming to work and sometimes failing their postgraduate exams, and then I have to supervise them and I ask them, what is this you're not studying? I don't have time to study. I say, why? I have taken this loan, housing loan, I have taken this loan, Every month I have to pay back 200,000. I have to find this money somehow or the other. So I am working till 9 in the night, 10 in the night. I am seeing patients because without that my economy is going to collapse. So how do I going to pass your exam, how are you going to do well in your clinical career? It's difficult, you can't have both. You have to make certain choices. But we put ourselves in traps. You cannot now come out of it because you have gone and committed yourself for certain things. So we have to take risks in life. I am not saying not to take risks. We need a little bit of pressure, we need to challenge ourselves, otherwise we become too lethargic. We need a little bit of stress, we need a bit of anxiety, take up new things, face challenges, but we need to know when to say, look, that's enough for me. Let me stop now. So that is what we are talking about. So we need to look in terms of physical health, we have to look into our emotional health, we need to look into our moral as well as spiritual health. And that is perhaps another big issue. Is it only about Sri Lanka living well or Sri Lanka living justly and living in a fair society that is corruption free, that's moral, that is spiritual? So all these things are issues we need to consider. Regular exercise, healthy eating habits. Again, this is another area we can keep on talking about. In today's, again, I envy my grandfather and I think of him in the farm. He would have eaten a very different diet from what I am eating. Maybe just rice, vegetables, little fish. And today, the same body is eating a totally different diet. Imagine how confused this body must be. Right? We are eating more than we need. We are doing sedentary jobs. He worked in the field. He worked from morning till night and then rested and ate accordingly. We are eating too much food for very little physical work. We are going on lifts, we are going in cars, we are walking very little, living good lives but not eating healthy. And this affects both our mind as well as our physique. It affects, so we need to eat in a healthy way. So psychological aspects, let me reiterate again, we need relaxation, rest, we need leisure, we need hobbies and interests. We need to focus a lot of family. As you know, we need to focus a lot of personal development as well. We were just talking, maybe good to one day talk about our interpersonal relationships, our ability to resolve conflicts, how we move with people around us. We may be successful, but we don't want to be Donald Trumps, do we? He may be the most powerful, but who wants to be him? So you need to have personal development. We need to learn tolerance. And we also need to be resilient. Because problems, difficulties are a fact of life. Life is not a jolly ride. It has so many challenges we have to face. And we need to be resilient in the midst of these challenges. We need to develop ourselves to face some of the big challenges that may be thrown along our way. 3 points: learn to live with uncertainty, take a day at a time. We always live thinking, oh, everything we want to be certain in today's world. Everything is the instant world, everything. No, life, none of us are in control of anything. We think we control everything and I can control all the situations around me. If you look at the world, the universe, we are but specks running around, just dots. And what is my role? We need to be aware of that. Some perspective as to who I am. I'm glad I can control a few things, but I cannot control everything. Life around us cannot be controlled. The more you try to control, the more difficult it becomes. Because we find it very unsettling. Our mind is always unsettled because we want to know what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen to my child, what's going to happen to my business. No, we can do what we can always target driven, mission driven. We can see nowadays culture is about having missions and
good. But sometimes I think how much of these are really achievable. It's good for us to motivate ourselves. But we cannot control it. Yeah, eventually our businesses, our careers, our lives will go. We have to go along. And the most flexible person, again being flexible is a very important characteristic if you want to be resilient. And if you really feel that you are having a lot of stress, you cannot cope with it, don't wait too long. You may have to see a doctor and don't hesitate to do that. People go and commit suicide, whereas they could have easily gone and seen a doctor. But I think it's worth to go and see a doctor for stress.
Commit suicide. That is sometimes a sad reality in today's thing.